channel is Programming in Any Language. The supporting website is www.black-duck.com. You'll find the videos and the PDFs of the code there in most cases. The video is the Anything Database version 2 part 6, Editing a Record. Editing a record means giving the user the chance to make changes to an existing record. That means the user has to navigate to it. Once there, the user presses the edit button and the fields open up for change. Not only that, but the user becomes a decision maker. The user can make changes on any field but can only update the record or cancel the change. Update is where the real processing takes place. What you'll see in the video is that when the update is used, the original record is actually deleted from the file. A brand new record is inserted in the old record's position. To the user, it appears the record has changed. In actuality, the old record was removed and replaced by a new record. Now that could be the end of our story. But in this video, we are going to learn that we had actually created an error in the navigation process. That was discovered when testing the edit feature. We used the debugger to find out what's wrong and fix it. This one is interesting. Take a look. Continuing with the Anything Database, we're going to take a look at editing a record this time. So this will be the Anything Database version 2, part 6, editing a record. What we're doing here is basically we're going through this little section right in here. We're editing, moving selected records to the text box, flipping our buttons, and then we go through that update cancel thing just like we did with the add. So let's make this simpler and get rid of the distractions here and look at the slide from the standpoint of that we're looking at edit, moving, flipping, updating, and cancel. We should be able to use the same cancel routine we used in there. We're also going to use the same update routine but make some subtle changes to it. What do we go to with edit? Well, once we're on a record that needs to be edited, we simply move that record to the text box, then allow the user to actually make some changes to it, and we'll go from there. So let's take a look at this and see what happens. To make things a little bit easier to follow, I'm going to take this update button, move it up a little bit, because we're going to be using this thing. We'll kind of leave it here until we're all done with this process. And we can see what's going to flip, what's going to be there. So this way I can kind of see them. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go into edit to see exactly what happens with edit. And edit is simply something we haven't done yet. What are we going to do with edit? Well, basically, what we're going to do is we're going to, first of all, we can't edit unless the record pointer is greater than or equal to 0. In other words, we're looking at something. So we're going to say if int record pointer is greater than or equal to 0, we're going to do our thing. Else, message box show no record visible to edit. So basically, we're just telling the user, well, you can't edit right now because you got nothing there. Will we ever get to this? Maybe not. Maybe we won't. So basically, I have to do it backwards. I do my else first so I can have my middle block here, or this center thing here, of where all the processing is going to take place. So if my record is greater than 0, if I'm actually looking at a record right now, if I've navigated to a record, I got my record pointer sitting at somewhere between 0 and the end of the file, somewhere in there. So it's there. So what I want to do? Well, I want to say, I'm going to use my Booleans. Remember way back up here, we said Boolean adding is false, Boolean editing is false. We set up these Booleans so we can know what we're doing. And we stuck the adding Boolean in place, even though we weren't using it because all we were doing is adding. Now we're going to have a use for these two things. Because in our update routine, we're going to be either updating an edit or updating an add. So we're going to have to make that determination now. So with this in place, we can zoom down here and say Boolean editing is equal to true. Turn on editing Boolean. Then we want to enable text boxes. In fact, if we go up to our add button, kind of the same thing here. We want to enable the text boxes. And we want to flip buttons. And that's it. That's all we really want to do with editing. So that's going to turn things on. We can test this real quickly and run it and see what's happening here. When we load it, we see our record there. If we edit, it opens it up. The spaces are still in there. That's what's happening right now. So we need to literally go in and basically wipe that away and say D-U-C-K-Y if we want to, ducky or whatever, and leave it at that, and then it would bring that thing in. Later on, we're going to be padding this thing anyway, so we're going to be fine with this thing. So that's something to consider. If I go in here and try to change Daffy, I can't. But if I delete something, let's say I wipe it out, I can say Mr. Daffy and then update it and make it work. Update's not going to work, so it's there. So we at least know this happens now. We can actually work on this thing. That's something to consider. Then we want to keep these spaces in there, these blanks in there, and have this thing fill like it is when we're doing an edit. Maybe not. Maybe we want to use trim on these things when we actually put them in there. That's something to consider. So let's go ahead and cancel this out. What we need to do now is we want to go ahead and go to our cancel button and see what it does. And cancel looks like this. We're flipping the buttons, flipping the text boxes as well. We're clearing the text boxes. What we want to do is we want to clear the text boxes, certainly. So we want to do that first. So I'm going to bring this thing up to the top. Then I'm going to say if we're editing, if BLN editing, we're going to do something. And what are we going to do? We're going to fill text boxes with int record pointer. Fill text boxes with record we are pointing at. Let's fix these guys a little bit too. Can I do this just like this? I can, yeah. Evening them up. So if we're editing, we want to be able to fill the text boxes. Adding, we don't really care. So then we can do our flip buttons. And then we can do our Boolean adding is false. We certainly want to say that. We also want to say BLN editing is equal to false. That turns off the switches, and we can leave this operation canceled. That looks like all we need. So the difference here is we're looking at the fact that during an add, if we cancel the add, we had nothing there. So we don't want to do anything. We're just going to leave it blank. We're clearing the text boxes anyway up here. That's why we're clearing the text boxes, so they're going to be empty in the case of an add. If we're editing, we're going to fill them and put whatever was there back in there, and then we're going to set everything else back the way it was. So let's take a look at this thing real quickly. We'll do a file save, do a start. We'll do a couple things to test this thing. We're going to do an add first. Oh, we got to do a load. Let's do a load. Bring it to a record. There's our record. Okay, let's do an add here. If we do something like Foghorn Leghorn, but then decide to cancel and add, it's fine. It puts everything as blank, so we're not looking there at all. But if we navigate to this guy, or to the first one, and want to do an edit here, we now have Daffy Duck. We can sit here and put a K in to fix him up and cancel this one, and it returns and puts things back exactly where they were. So our cancel is working fine for both the add and the edit. All we need to do now is work on the update piece, which we don't have in place. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll go to our update routine, which is right here, and there it sits. We have to make consideration now of what we're actually doing. So we're going to say if BLN adding, put our piece in there. And then we're going to say else if BLN editing, put our pieces in there. Else if we're editing, we're going to do this. Else, and we want to put a message in here. And the message, in this case, is going to simply be message box show. Okay, shouldn't get here. Only adding or editing should happen. So if we get to here, something went wrong. We're never going to get here. You could have actually ended the thing right here, but I'm leaving this in as just a loop so we know that we're going to either do adding or editing in this case. What happens if we're adding? If we're adding, we want to do all the things we were doing before, which basically was all this stuff down here. But some of this stuff we're going to also want to do in editing. So what is commonplace here? Well, if we think about this, in both adding and editing, we're going to want to read all the text boxes from the user. So we're certainly going to want to use this piece. If we're adding, we want to add record to the list record. So we're going to do this piece. But if we're editing, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to delete record from the list. Remove the current record. Then we're going to insert record to list. Insert record in same position as the edited record. So what's happening here is when we're doing an edit, we're really not editing the record. We're really actually creating a new record, deleting the existing one, and putting the new one back in place. So it's kind of like smoke and mirrors. you're really not making the change. You're actually deleting the existing one and inserting a new one in the same position. So it looks like we're editing and updating the thing. To the user, it's transparent. What's the next thing we want to do? We want to display the record count. I'm not so sure we need to do this. In the case of an ad, we're going to be doing an update. So in case of an ad, we are increasing the record count. But we're not doing it with editing. So we can leave that alone. I'm going to say increment record count. Now we want to display the record count. So we're going to display the record count right in here. Should we do it to this thing? We don't have to, but why not redo it anyway in case we do something different in our delete record and insert record. We may want to be messing with the counters here, deleting and incrementing it. So as long as this will make sure we're going to get the right count in there by putting display record count in there again. We then want to flip those text boxes around, flip the buttons around too. We want to flip buttons, enable the text boxes, so these two things are going to go in there in both cases. And we want to clear the text boxes. We're there, so we're going to pop that thing in here right away in both cases. Our ad's in place. Our edit, we could leave it, or we could clear it so we know it's not there anymore. Let's go ahead and clear it. We can make that decision later if we want to make a change so we can actually see it. And finally, BLN adding is false. We're turning both those off. We want to turn these both off in this case. So we're going to say that in this case, BL adding is false is going to go here, and BL editing. There we go. So we're going to turn off those booleans and make those false again because we're coming out of this thing. And finally, record successfully added goes up in here. Record successfully changed would go in here. BLN. Why did that screw up on me? Didn't like either of those. Did I copy it wrong? This is LBL. I'm missing the L. There we go. LBL message. Oh, I put the wrong spot there. L here. Now we're good. Is the L gone from here? Well, we actually didn't even delete this thing. We just left it here. I'm just going to pull it. We don't need this anymore. And then we're good. Okay, so we're all done now, except we have two routines that we got to figure out what to do on these things. And one of those is going to be deleting the record, then adding the record back in. So we need to actually create something here. So in order to delete the record from the list means we have to get rid of the particular record at that location, every possible position we're at. So let's put that right in here. We're going to create a brand new routine. We're going to call this private void delete record from list, and then give ourselves the braces. So delete record from the list is now sitting there. What do we want to do this thing? Well, basically, remember, our pointer is still looking at the record that we actually deleted because we did our insert and we did our display record count, and our delete record from the list is going to be all taking place here based on what our record pointer is. So all we have to do here is just simply say lst first name dot remove at int record pointer. That takes care of that particular list, the first name list. We certainly want to do it to all the rest of the pieces. So we do that by just jumping right down here and placing us in place. This gets rid of all those records there. So suddenly that record, after hitting delete record from the list, it removes all of them. Now we want to insert the record. So we're going to need another routine to actually do that. So we'll actually make it right in here. We'll put another routine in here called private void. Be a little careful when I create this thing. Is insert record to list record, and then the braces. And I can't spell to save my life today. So insert record to list is what we're going to actually do here. That's going to take care of this. I got rid of the error here we actually have here now. So I'm going to take place here. We know what the pointer is. So it's a generic pointer that's sitting up in the global area. So we're fine there. So all we need to do here is simply say that we're going to our list first name dot insert in record pointer, comma, str first name. Insert record to list in position. Why str first name? Where's this coming from? When we think about this, a read data entry piece right here, takes whatever's in the text box, adds the blanks to it, does the substring creation on here, and deletes whatever's there to create it, to give us our 15-character first name field. So str first name is where everything's been stored. So these variables up here, this data entry variables, are where everything's stored when we actually do the read. So by looking at that, we can come down here and place that in place, str first name, because we know it's there because our read made it so, put all those things in place. And we did with the insert and delete, we're simply taking that and making the change to it. So let's go ahead and do the rest of these things. And then we take in the other ones and link them in position. So they're there right there. So that's all we need to do. File save. Do a start. Let's bring in our load. Let's go to our first record. It's right here. Let's do an edit on it. Cancel out. That's fine. Edit again. Change this to duck by hitting the delete key and a K. Oops. And a K. Doesn't matter if I get rid of a bunch of these things. I can do that. Do our update. And our record should be saved. Record successfully changed. Let's go to the top again. There it is. Daffy Duck is sitting there. If I go forward on here, I go back on here, it's changed. Nothing to do. If you want to see this actually happen, let's exit out, put a breakpoint in the editing field right here, do a start. Our routine comes up. We can now do our load, go to our first record, which is right here, and do our edit, put our K in place, and now do update. We go into our breakpoint routine, and we're hitting all these routines. So the read data entry is taking place first. What's going on here? Well, if we look at this thing, and I'm going to truck through this by hitting step into. I'm going to go down to that routine. Let's go down here, and there it is down at the bottom. You can see it right there. First thing it's doing is taking string name. In fact, we can go ahead and do I want to do an add watch here. Bring up our add watch for this whole thing. Let's actually do them all real quickly. Add to watch, 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 and add to watch. Because they're all right null right now. As I'm going to step through this thing by hitting the F11 key or this button right up here, I can go through this thing and Daffy goes in place. You can see the spaces in here that's actually pulling in. So it's pulling in the full record. There's D, there's Duck coming through. So we're actually seeing that record come through with its K in there. So we did the change. And let's step through this thing. Each one of those things, everything comes into place. We have no zip code in there apparently. Must have left the thing blank. That's interesting. I gotta double check that and find out why we're not seeing string zip in there. Yeah, we could have covered an error here. We'll take a look at that. So as I go through this thing, it's done doing the read entry. It's going to now jump to deleting the record from the list. So it's going to jump to that, which takes it down here, and it gets rid of the first pointer, second. All those guys are being gone right now. They're disappearing. So whatever's there in the database, in the list, at that particular record pointer, we should actually put record pointer in here real quickly. Add that to the watch as well. It's sitting at record 0 because it is the first one. We come back to our delete. Now we're going to insert. So we jump back into here, and we're going to insert that record with our str first name. So Daffy goes in, and my middle initial goes in. All this stuff is going in. And we are going to check on the zip code shortly, see what's going on there. That's done. So the insert record is done. We now display the record count, which goes up here and adds our record. We're going to flip our buttons, which jumps down here and changes all those buttons back to what they should be. We're going to enable the text boxes, which does all that real quickly. We're also going to clear the text boxes, which is going to get rid of everything in there. Puts nulls in there. That's our focus at that. And finally, we're going to set Boolean editing to false. Our message is going to be record change. We're going to come out. And that brings up our record. So we're sitting right there like that now. We shouldn't go into this at all if we go continue right now. So if I go ahead and if I do a navigation piece, are we still editing? I think we might still be. I'm going to go first. Yeah, it is. So I'm going to go ahead and do an F5 on this thing to continue. There. Now we're moving. We can see, yeah, there is no zip code in this particular piece. That's interesting. Let's do a real quick edit on this. Let's get rid of our breakpoint. We don't want to have to see this go through here all again. Here it is. Let's get rid of the breakpoint so we don't stop. and bring up our program. And let's do an edit on this again. Let's put in our 98765, do an update, and now let's do our navigation. Something's wrong with this. The zip code is not getting saved for some reason. So we need to check this and find out why it's happening. Our other guys have one? Actually, let's go ahead and exit out, come back in, load our file, navigate. Yeah, there's no zip code in any case here. Maybe we never saved it. That's interesting. Okay, so let's go ahead and check that out. Look at our save. Here's our save button. This is the save. Format record, string anything record. Here's the format record. First name, last name, middle initial. State, zip. It's all getting concatenated here. So that's there. Maybe it's in the load. Look at our load, string, anything record. Parse record to database, right in here. 140 for 5. Let's look at our file. I'm going to jump into our file here. Bin debug folder. There's our text file. Bring it over. There's a zip code everywhere here. They're in all three cases. All three records have the zip code in them. So it's getting this, but it's not getting that. So let's just see this for a second here. If we look at this guy, and let's do our, actually 137 for 2, 37, 38 to 9, 40 for 5, 37 for 2. It's grabbing the LST zip is going right in here. So once it does that, list zip.add. We got the right file name here? This zip, yeah. Well, let's put a breakpoint in here. Run it. Bring this in, do a load. We're getting to the parse piece here. STR anything record. I'd like to go ahead and look at that real quickly. Add a watch to this. And do an F11. It's going down there and it's pulling the LST first name. It gets the string disk record. Okay, it doesn't exist here. I need to go ahead and look at the disk record. There it is. Bring us across. It's got all those pieces in here. So 98765 is there. So if we hit F11, we bounce down and put all these pieces in place. It's looking at 140 for 5. 37 for 2 is going to be the CA, which it's getting. So this is what? 37, 38, 39, 40 is right here. 40 for 5. 40, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 98765 should be going in here and being added. Next record's coming in. Elmer Fudd's coming in. It's going through all the pieces. And a stream. Close the file, display our record count. We then go to, we're going to display the record count. We're going to then clear the text boxes. It's clearing everything that's there. Setting our focus to the top. And now our record file is complete and it's going into here. Oops. So what I'm seeing here is that everything's there. And if I do my navigation now, go to my top. Navigation looks at my pointer. We go to fill text boxes based on the record pointer. So we go there and we look. There it is. Filling text boxes does not have the state going in there, as you can see. It's a state. It doesn't have the zip code in there. So everything's working right in our program. The thing is, we're not displaying or adding the element of the zip code into our zip process from our file. That's what we're missing here. So we can close this off and fix this. We'll end out here. Right here is where we have to fix this, and we'll simply say txt zip.txt is equal to this zip.txt. That's all we have to do. I do want to take out that breakpoint. Do a file save. Start. Here's our file. We'll do a load. Our data now shows our zip code in there. If we edit it, we haven't saved this, so that's why we still have DUC up here. If we do an edit on this thing, everything is showing now. We can go ahead and put a K in here, do an update, and now we look at the records, they're all there. Now we're going to save. Data's been written to disk. We'll escape out, see if we actually worked on this thing. Start. Do our load. Navigate. Everything's there. Duck's fixed. We're in good shape. So that actually takes, this is one of the reasons we break things down in small pieces too. You may have made mistakes in earlier parts of your program, and you want to solve those things now and not later and leave them all for the end when you're sitting out there with a completed file, because they're much harder to figure it out. Look at this. We did navigation. We've done add. A whole bunch of things have been going on here before this. And the zip code thing wasn't seen before. It wasn't seen because we didn't have to edit. We were editing, caught this, and then showed us that, hey, that thing's not there. The record's not there anymore. What's going on? And so by seeing that, we were able to catch it now and fix it from this standpoint. So we got our editing done, and we also fixed a problem with our program as we went through there. Simple missing of a simple line of code. That's really all it was. But debugging it now, it's a lot easier than trying to do it later when we've got search routines in there and everything else going on. So that's editing. Maybe not in a nutshell, but it's editing. And it also shows you some of the problems you might incur when actually doing a program like this. I can't stress enough about just how important a tool the debugger can be. I use it just about every program I write. And that's because I make mistakes in just about every program that I write. I believe that it is impossible to write applications without making mistakes. It's just part of the game. Next, we'll look at deleting a record. That'll be easy. Thanks for watching. Visit the website when you get a chance. And please subscribe to the channel. There's more stuff coming every week. We'll see you in the next video. Take care.